you mothers out there watching this. Okay, there are none. Next topic.
There's a lot of mothers. My mother, your mother. A lot of mothers.
Yeah.
But yes, of course, a happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Yes. And I'm glad you guys can spend it with us.
Even though we're not mothers.
Yes. Hopefully you did tell your mother, you know, Happy Mother's Day and all that, and tell your parents or your mother how much you appreciate it. We have a sick lineup for you guys today, though. Who do we have right now, Cyber?
Starting off for our first preliminary best of 5, JimRising versus Spear. That's a ZVT, and it's actually going to be a bit of a clash of the continents. We've got JimRising representing Mexico, and of course Spear from South Korea. So again, one of those matches that you don't see very often, and that's what Team Gravity does, bringing together sometimes unusual teams.
Yeah, and then after that, we do have Pilly versus Fenner. A couple of, well, actually, Fenner's from, what is it, Australia, right? I was about to say NA players, but they're not. I always think all foreigners are from North America. That's my Americentric thinking, right?
So I always think that Fenner is from Australia, but Team Liquid, no, it's UK. I always think that he's from Australia, yeah. Crazy.
Huh. Okay, yeah. Got that all wrong then. And then, of course, we are going to lastly have Seed versus Horror.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Kind of building up to the quote-unquote best match, but that final best of 7 is certainly going to be something you guys do not want to miss. PVZ is going to be actually on the docket twice tonight. Normally, we're pretty Terran favored on Team Gravity Fight Night, but...
Mm-hmm.
However, I think we've got our first match ready to go. We'll see you just after this. Team Gravity presents Fight Night.
Y'all ready for this?
All right, folks, we are now into game number 1. This is a best of 5. As always, the first 2 preliminary show matches of a fight night are best of 5 for $10 a piece. So let's see here who is going to be playing. On Vonnie Research Station at the very bottom is going to be the red Terran. Representing Dust Gaming is the South Korean player Spear.
And in the north, our blue Zerg player representing Brawl Esports. And he's got a very nice looking toucan on his emblem. This is JimRising. I think their logo is hilarious. It's a very fierce-looking bird.
So Spear has been making some noise in the community scene lately. I know that last night he was playing for Dust in the Team Ascension Team League finals. I think that's the right way to. They just had a bunch of words there. You got to organize them correctly. But yeah, Spear was an integral part of that. I believe ultimately Dust took second place compared to Flipside, but I would say of Dust Gaming, Spear is probably their strongest player.
Every time I think of Dust Gaming, there's a couple of players that come to mind that are no longer on Dust Gaming, and I realize that I'm actually quite out of touch with some of these teams that I used to have a much better handle on their rosters. But against a team like Flipside, I mean, you've got Bales and Puck, 2 very strong Protosses, and then quite a few other strong NA players as well. So it's not a big surprise that Flipside was able to take that.
Yep. And, of course, we do have the Blue Zerg JimRising. Been around the block for a very long time now with Brawl Esports. Probably the strongest Zerg in all of Latin America. Yeah, I think that's safe to say. So
him and Cham kind of like go back and forth for that title, but yeah, certainly not a bad assumption to make. He is quite a powerful Zerg.
Indeed. So let's see who is going to have the upper hand here. We're going to see Spear go ahead with that CC first opening, which is going to be scouted by JimRising. And we take a look at what JimRising's up to. Looks like he is going to be Well,
I believe it was Hatch Gas Pool, if my timings, if I was paying attention close enough. I didn't quite catch all of the supply as far as when it went down. But again, it's Vonnie Research Station. Everybody loves the in-base natural expansion, getting up that eco nice and early.
yep. And, well, we do see JimRising getting that speed here, so he's not going to open speedless. A few times I've seen JimRising play ZVD, generally does get speed. Just opening with queens is not exactly his idea of safe. And particularly on Vonnie Research Station, where, you know, a Terran could easily open up with the Hellion kind of drop into the back or something. It's difficult to just defend with queens. So we're going to see JimRising here going for that safe opening. And then looking back at Spear right now, he's going to go right into that factory, of course. Very typical transition. Question is are we going to see a third CC in a bit? It looks like we will. Oh, nope. He's going to go into Starport first. And an additional Rax. Oh, no, never mind. That's just a Rax landing.
So you brought up the very good point that everyone does also like to mention on this map, because of course you've got that in-base expansion, but it can be so exposed, as you mentioned, and more than once we've seen Terran players dropping Hellions, Widow Mines, or what have you, making good use of that very exposed natural by air. So potentially, Spear is going to be looking to do that. As you mentioned, he does have that starport on the way. And his first set of Hellions, I mean, they're moving their way across the map, so he's not going to be pumping out any more as he swaps out the factory back to put it on, to put the barracks back onto that reactor.
Couple of Hellions going to push out here just to test the waters. There is a third base for JimRising on the way. And we're going to start seeing some air units being pumped out by Spear. I saw a couple mines being made as well, so we might see mine drop in the back, have a bit of action going on in the front with the ground units. Right now, JimRising going to try to get into Lair as soon as he can here. About 40-50% done. And, well, he's going to have to stick with just Speedlings for a little bit. And then I guess a Banelings now with the nest on the way.
But also he's getting that telltale sort of spine crawler at the front, which is one of those moves that a lot of two-base Muta sort of players go for. In this particular case, it is going to be actually the three-base. But still, you need that spine crawler for the extra defense. You don't have the roaches, and often you are saving a lot of your resources that you're not going to be dumping into Speedlings or what have you. So he is going to have a reasonable number of Speedlings, but we'll have to see exactly how good the control is with this drop.
Yeah, and one important thing is that this medevac was scouted on its way out of Spear's base with the Overlord placement of JimRising, so he was able to get his units there and immediately intercept that medevac, which Spear is now just deciding to back off with.
As this game goes on, he is going to have limited utility with that medevac. As you mentioned, he did get chased away, but not completely, as he's trying to, well, he doesn't actually get either one of the Overlords. One of them does get transfused. 3 Queens out on the front lines trying to find something to do. And, oh, even the Widow Mine does get picked up. But going back to it, drops are going to kind of lose a bit of utility just because Mutalisks will eventually be on the way. I mean, the Spire's on the way. He could be going for Corruptors. A little bit of that dark style, but most Zergs are more preferential to the Mutas.
Yeah, we'll see which one Jim chooses. Generally, he does go for Muta. I don't really see him doing Corruptor very often. Right now, we're going to see Spear try to throw down a Widow Mine here, which is going to get a shot on the Queen, but the Queen, of course, can't be one-shotted and killed by a Widow Mine. So yeah, this drop, you know, hasn't really done too much damage-wise. Of course, as we always say against Zerg, sometimes it's not just about killing things. It's making the Zerg make stuff they don't want to make. So JimRising isn't running away with the drone count just yet, only at 50 to 47. But Spear, of course, did delay his third a little bit to make that happen. So we'll see if he'll be ready for these mutas that are going to come very soon. 8 on the way.
Very true. Fortunately, he did get the double engineering bays for the upgrade, so he will have that option to make turrets as soon as he knows about the mutas. But as kind of the problem is, he has to know about the mutas. More and more drones going to be on the way for JimRising. You mentioned his drone count wasn't very healthy, and yeah, we even saw Spear ahead in that worker count, which of course, when you add mules into the equation, he was just even further ahead on the economy. But now, JimRising droning up to that 60, and of course with those mutas on the way, he can potentially drop Spear's drone count down even further.
Well, the mutas are first going to go after these Hellions, and well, not a bad choice considering that Hellions can't aim up. These Marines can though, but Of course, JimRising can just let the Lings handle that. Now he's going to give chase to this army of Spear, and Spear is going to just try to pull back with everything right now. He has a second drop that he just lifted and towards the bottom center, but not going to move that out just yet. I think he's going to wait to see what happens with these mutas if they do arrive in the main base.
Spear has a healthy number of Marines, as you mentioned, in the middle part of the map, and that's kind of the problem, is if they're all in the middle, does he have enough back home to deal with these Mutalisks? It'll look like the answer, for now, will be yes. He was able to get some missile turrets up, but over at the third base, the missile turret isn't quite up just yet. Mules are, of course, being brought off the line, and actually the missile turret does get up, and the focus fire is not good enough from JimRising to actually finish it off.
Yeah, repair from Terran always going to be the key in saving a base on those turrets. We're going to see Spear push forward now on this third base, and JimRising knows he can't do it. He just did not have the time to get up an army big enough.
His second round of mutas that was on the way, his second kind of big round of mutas, just of course not there in time. And because Spear was playing defensively well enough back home, he didn't have to get a crazy number of turrets. He was just going for the base number of turrets. And JimRising couldn't poke in, couldn't do that damage, couldn't get anything done.
Yeah, even with the number of mutas that were coming out, it still wouldn't have been enough. He needed banelings in that situation. And he just couldn't afford to get everything. I mean, there was no way he could defend against that incoming push from Spear. At the very least, he'd lose that third and then some. So he kind of saw the writing on the wall. Game 1 goes to the Korean.
Yeah, rather kind of quick and almost uneventful game overall. I mean, JimRising, well, to start off, Spear tried to do that bit of poking, tried to do that bit of damage with the first drop. Basically only ever got a shot off on the Queen with the Widowmine, which, as you mentioned, didn't really do anything. And then the aggression after that kind of came from JimRising. Yeah, he was able to push the Hellions away, tried to go into the main base, was like, oh, there's too many Marines here, and then Spear poked forward, and Jim was like, all right, tap out, GG. So not exactly the most explosive first game, but both of these guys, well, I don't know about Spear, but JimRising has shown us some pretty fantastic games right here on Fight Night in the past, so I'm looking forward to the rest of this series.
Yep, so let's take a look right now at our chat here in Hitbox TV. Let's see who's going to win this series. The poll right now looks like we have 75% going for JimRising, only 25% for Spear. Oh. So let's see if the events of Game 1 may change that. But if you guys haven't made your voices heard, make sure to vote in that poll. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's because you're watching this on Team Liquid. Come to hitbox.tv/teamgravity where you can take part in the chat. It's easy to sign up. All you got to do is enter an email address and password. You don't even need to confirm an email. And basically, you can take part in these polls, which are built into the streaming platform.
Yeah, Hitbox has a variety of features, and of course, they don't have quite the emote kind of variety that some of the other streaming platforms have, but what's even better than that is anyone who's a mod in the chat can post GIFs directly into the chat. So that actually makes up for, in a lot of ways, some of the, you know, like, emote variety that other people would be looking for, because it gives you access to, you know, any GIF on the internet.
All right, we're now into game number 2 here. Iron Fortress Ellie is going to be the map. Let's take a look at the player on the upper left-hand side here. He is going to be the blue Terran, who took game 1 in convincing fashion. Let's see if he can push that lead to 2 here. For Dust Gaming, ladies and gentlemen, it is Spear.
And in the bottom right corner, representing Brawl Esports, he needs your cheers. He's down 0-1. This is JimRising. Iron Fortress has that Zerg logo in the middle of the map, which means this is the map for JimRising to take it back. And since we are cross spawns, we don't have any potential awkward third locations. There's no, you know, sieging from one side that's going to be happening as easily. It still can happen, and we've certainly seen siege tanks and warp-in pylons be quite devious on the map just because of the way it's laid out. But I'm not exactly sure if this is a favorite map. I'm actually surprised to see it this early on in a series.
Yeah, but we're going to see Spear play to the map style here, going for the CC first. Just thinking, okay, well, there's 4 possible spawning locations for anybody, so I guess I'll just go ahead and take the command center first, because I'm not going to expect my opponent to really do anything about it too soon.
Very true. And JimRising, he's got a similar line of thought going on, going hatch into gas into the pool. So not a particularly delayed pool, but still certainly not an early pool by any means. Some players on this map go even further. I believe it was just an event I was casting the other day. We saw Zerg go hatch gas against their opponent's early gateway pressure. And playing to the meta of the map can sometimes be very powerful.
Yes, indeed. Although sometimes the reverse psychology thing comes in effect too. We've seen players do that quite a bit, but that's not the case here. JimRising relying on his overlords to do the scouting spear. Just going to worry about that a little bit later, the scouting part, that is. See that CC finish up. Rax on the way. Let's see if when he decides to get his third CC. Last game he did delay it a bit to go for the starport and get out a stronger attack. And that forced a lot of stuff out of JimRising. Really delayed his macro a bit and put him in a bad spot to hold that push. So will Spear try that attempt again, or will he just go really hardcore macro because this is a larger map?
And just about now, JimRising, his overlords have cleared both of the corners of the map, and he's like, all right, I know where you are. We are in exact opposite spawns, and at this point, he's probably wishing he would have gone for a faster third hatch. We'll see if this mineral bank that he's starting to build is actually going to be for that third hatch at a, respectable time.
Speed on the way here for JimRising. Once again, going to go with that option to defend any early Terran aggression. Of course, very normal transition here for Spear. We got the factory finishing up with the reactor about to, decorate the factory. And starport once again. So no early third CC for Spear at this time.
Ling going to be heading in for JimRising. He's going to try to poke up the ramp, but of course there's a Marine guarding that. Ling could try to do a little bit of damage to SCV building a supply depot, but no such luck. And there's going to be actually the lair. So this will be a bit of a two-base lair sort of play, although JimRising will most likely take a look around inside of his opponent's base and then make his third base decision on that.
Well, let's see when those gases of JimRising get taken right now. He only has one gas in his main base. If he's trying to make this into a two-base muta affair, we'd be seeing all extractors taken very soon. But still, not yet. So let's see what he is up to. Well, he's taking that second right now, and, well, a third as well. I don't see a Roach Warren. If he was going Roaches, he would have made that already. So he's probably going to go with mutas here. Just going to take that fourth extractor a little later. But no doubt the lair is going to be utilized for the purposes of getting tier 2. But no third just yet from JimRising.
And just to prove you wrong, he drops his third moments after you say it.
Man.
That's players love doing that. And on top of that spear, he's like, hey, I'm getting my third as well. Don't worry about that. He's adding that third CC. Going to be adding it into his wall. Adds an additional racks as well. So he did go for the 1-1-1, and he's going into his triple racks. Some players like to go for the 5 racks before their third CC. In this case, Lings are actually going to be getting inside of the initial wall. We'll do some nice damage onto this tank. If they pick it off, that's a pretty big deal.
Oh, that is great.
Wow. They actually got it.
It's a lot of Lings dead, I will say that. I mean, if we take a look at units lost, it's almost even on both ends, but a tank is much less disposable. But these Hellions, though, may be getting some good revenge. Lots of drones killed just now. 9 workers killed. 2 of the Hellions do remain. And a little bit of retribution for that lost tank there by Spear.
He wants to make sure that he evens the score up. Now, the Spire is going to be finishing momentarily here for JimRising. And the Spire, I believe, is that over at the Natural. Yeah, so I don't think that was actually scouted by Spear. He would like to know that, but potentially he's just kind of banking on his opponent going for those mutas once again.
Yeah, I mean, Spear, he didn't venture the Natural, but he knows that the lair exists, right? Let me double-check that. Yeah, he does. So, I mean, there's a lair done. Doesn't see any roaches or any other kind of tech. So you can probably surmise that there's going to be a Spire done. 7 mutas on the way right now. Spear just transitioning into bio at the moment. And
no missile turrets. Yeah, so
not quite
I mean, he should buy a lot of time with wow. Okay, so he actually cancels, and he's going to be rebuilding a bunker on the front line.
I guess he doesn't expect it after all, but he is going to be laying some assaulting here on this third base, doing a little drop tank in the back as well, which is in range of a lot of things in this mineral line. But the Mutas are being able to clean this up. That bunker is really dead on arrival, and it does get cleaned up by these Mutas. I think Spear did, in fact, get caught off guard by this from JimRising.
It was a very cute idea, and I think the execution, maybe in a slightly different universe, slightly different builds, maybe he needs to refine that idea a little bit more, but that could have worked probably quite well and be one of those things that's just a very annoying position for the Zerg to break. In this particular case, it did buy Spear time. So I mentioned there was no missile turrets. He's at least started them now, and he's got a reasonable number of Marines here on the outskirts of his base to fend away those Mutalisks. The missile turret in the natural is there to guard, but the problem is the front is rather exposed.
It is, but these Marines are going to basically go after the Mutas in short time. Depot did go down, but of course,
wow.
we're going to see these Mutas now start camping the production line. Marines just going to have to run back and forth here and there, but ultimately, not too much damage is going to be done by those Mutas. JimRising going to pull them back here as he is going to drop a fourth hatchery right now in the form of a Macro hatch. And does he have his Baneling Nest right now?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Finished up just a few moments away. He's also going for those double Evo chambers, going to be pumping out the upgrades relatively soon, but his priority were those Banelings.
Yeah, I mean, you go for 2 base Muta, you're going to delay the rest of your tech just a hair. That's why we're going to see really just the upgrade start now, which will put JimRising a little behind here. I mean, we look at Spear. He does have 1-1 finished already. Hasn't quite started 2-2 because his armory is a little late, but Spear is going to have an advantage here in upcoming battle. But these Mutas right now, they'll be happy to fight SCVs with no units nearby. So
yeah,
Mutas do get in pretty good damage there. Spear now, though, is going to counter very shortly.
Those Mutas picking up themselves some nice kills, while on the other side of the map, Baneling's rolling in. Can Spear split backwards? He is just running all for the off creep. Of course, engaging on creep can be very dangerous, but he's actually going to be losing his natural orbital on the other side of the map. Baneling's going to be coming in. There's the hot pickup coming in from Spear. Lands the Viking as well, just to absorb a couple of Banelings. And now the Mutas have done some pretty serious work. 10 SCVs killed, but they're still around. They're still healthy.
Yeah, and Spear has yet to do any economic damage to JimRising here in the last 60 seconds, which is not a good thing. He needed to trade with JimRising. Instead, he saw quite a few of his Marines gobbled up by Banelings, and with Centrifugal Hooks just finishing up, those Lings going from the back, trapping some of the Marines, the rest get cleaned up, and I think that Spear is in a bit of trouble right now.
More and more Mutas on the production tab, and he's not necessarily going to be able to count on his upgrade advantage for too much longer. He does have a little bit of time before the upgrades kick in for the Zerg, but he still needs to put on that pressure. JimRising has been on 3-base economy for a long time, been ahead of workers for a long time, and these Mutas still don't really have an answer.
No, not at all. I mean, Spear has the quality, but not the quantity here. The Mutas have +1 upgrades as well. JimRising is going to be able to take game 2 here with the GG. Score is now all teed up 1-1.
Yep, and that's the JimRising that I more of expect to see on Fight Night. He doesn't always win his matches, but by gum, he always shows a good time. And a lot of times we see some games and it's like, all right, this is why this guy is one of the best in the Latin America scene.
Absolutely. And yeah, I missed something, Cyber. Do you know when Spear scouted the third base of JimRising? Or was it just that drop that he did there? That was like the first time
it was whatever happened before that. I think it was Hellions trying to poke in. I don't remember what it was. But he did see the third building.
He saw the third building. So
yes.
Here's kind of the thing. If you see that third building at a later time, you kind of have to be concerned that there is a lair, that there is going to be a spire potentially. Because if the third's being delayed, your opponent has been on 2 base for a while, has a lair, which you confirmed, no roaches. Yeah. What else could it be?
Yeah.
So at that point, yeah, Spear did get caught off guard, and the rest is history.
Yeah. A lot of times, again, if they are going for those roaches, you're going to see that first 8 roach push, something like that, much earlier on in the game. Sometimes players hit, around like the 5-minute mark, 5:30. But in this case, that it was like a 7-minute third coming out from JimRising, and it was scouted in construction. So yeah, Spear had a pretty good idea as far as what the timing was for that third. He had his own third in reasonable fashion, but he just never landed it, never actually got up to that 3-base economy. He was just sitting on 2-base until, of course, the Mutas killed off his second base.
Well, let's take a look at that poll again. Looks like there are even more JimRising fans joining our chat now. 87.5% of them believe Jim is going to take the series. With the last game, I'd say a little more confidence is deserved in Jim.
Yeah.
But game 3 is, of course, always going to be the turning point. Whoever gets this is going to grab that lead. And we'll go into the rest of the series with a bit of momentum on their side.
Yeah, they're going to be in that match point situation. They're going to have that extra bit of advantage. And, of course, it is a best-of-5. It's not quite the longest series. So these two guys, they need to bring their A game because this Expedition lost game is going to, again, be deciding that momentum like you talked about. And there's all sorts of sneaky, wonderful, devious things that can happen on this map.
Indeed, indeed. That backdoor entrance, always something to keep an eye on. So we are going to have here, spawning on the lower left-hand side. Well, lost the previous game, but it's all tied up. So this is his opportunity here to take the lead again. Playing for Dust Gaming is the South Korean Terran, Spear.
And in the northern position, our blue Zerg, he's tied things up 1-1, but can he keep the momentum going? This is JimRising. Representing Brawl Esports and the wonderful purple Toucan.
All right, last game, we did see the very early expansions out of both players. Now that we're back onto a 2-player map, let's see if Spear will attempt something so brazen again with the early expansion first gameplay. JimRising, though, I mean, there's only so many things a Zerg can really try to do.
Oh
my!
My!
This drone hit. Well,
Is he just checking for proxies? Okay, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's what he's.
I
doing.
was like, that is the most awkward 3-hatch before pool. I guess the proxy check is warranted, though.
Yeah. Well, yes, it is, and it's not in the place that he looked.
Yeah.
But well, what is JimRising going to do here? He's approaching 15 supply now. Probably take that hatchery first. It's looking like. But Spear, though, well, he's gone for the polar opposite of what he did last game. 2 racks are down, gasless, so we're going to be seeing Marines, and well, JimRising is going to be on the defensive.
Yeah, that would have been one heck of an early SCV scout, either if it wasn't going to be proxies. Now, this Overlord is going to be running mighty close to seeing the proxies. I don't think it actually will, just due to the path, and it'll barely miss them. But if only JimRising would swing a couple of degrees... Oh, he actually does see it!
Oh,
it's
boy.
in his vision, just barely, and he's got sight of it. He hasn't turned his Overlord or anything like that. Yeah, actually, the SCV does scout the Overlord as well, so both of these guys kind of are aware, and their JimRising now knows exactly what's going on.
Oh, yeah, he's going for that pool ASAP, cancels the gas.
My.
These drones being pulled right now to try to... Well, I thought they were going to just kill off that SCV and then stop the bunker from ever being put down, but the rest of the drones are going to move out here and try to basically, well, nip this in the bud before it gets out of hand.
This is quite a few drones moving in here. There are 3 Marines, 2 of them going to be stutter stepping away. The third one finally does manage to break free, and a lot of these drones are very low on HP, down to 15 workers, but he's still ahead of Spear, and so far, the drones, most of them do survive.
Yep, and Jim's like, okay, well, you know, I killed a few Marines here. That's good enough. I still have half my drone line mining. I have 2 bases, and I'm going to start spying Zerglings. Not too bad. Not too bad of a situation, but there is a bunker going down here, and Jim's going to have to pull again to try to stop it.
He's brought some healthier drones this time. Both of the Lings do get targeted down really quite nicely by Spear. The drones now do... they're starting to get thinned out. More Marines are joining the pack, and they just pick themselves up some extra worker kills, putting JimRising down 2 workers to Spear.
Was that bunker canceled?
Wow, no, it wasn't.
No cancellation.
Yeah, so the Lings actually get it. They get the kill. They don't get the cancel. That's a bit unfortunate.
Yep, unfortunate for Spear, that is. He's going to have to rely on these Marines now, but with that Spine Crawler almost finishing up, I think the time is running out here for this proxy to get it what it needs done. Queen has joined the fray as well. That is a huge, huge help here, and I think JimRising can safely breathe now.
Yep, repositioning that Spine Crawler to get a much better position right on top of that ramp. Spear, he's dropping down the CC. He's looking to push out of this. Now, he's up the workers, and we always have to keep in mind the fact that he's got those mules at his disposal as well. So once he starts double cranking on mules, he should be just fine. What is JimRising really going to be looking to do? Oh, wow, he actually lost an Overlord as well.
Or he's supply blocked right now, which does put a kink in his countering plans here. He's trying to roam outside with these slowlings just to see what he could find. You're going to see these two Raxes lifting up. Spear sending his Marines after these lings. JimRising doesn't want to lose them, and without speed, that is a real possibility. Now these Marines are quartering these guys, and Jim's going to lose at least a good half of them.
Yeah, actually, that was a pretty good split from Jim. He knew that he was going to get cornered one way or the other, and so he split his lings off, and now he's actually heading back into the Marines. A bit of a mistake there will cost him an extra couple of lings. JimRising, he was like, all right, I need to get something going on. I believe, oh no, he canceled his gas. He wasn't actually supply blocked because an Overlord lost. That's what it was. Yeah, so he went for an extractor trick rather late in comparison to where it normally happens, but he's just been droning up super hard.
Well, this is kind of a troublesome situation here. Without speed, I mean, JimRising can't really do any counter damage, and we're about to see Spear here finish that third base, Orbital on the way. So Spear can very soon take that mining lead over Jim. And the other thing, too, isn't even just about those lings doing damage. It's about securing a third base. Without speed, very difficult to do that when Spear has his Marines over here, just spotting for when that third goes down.
Yep, couple of lings, they're getting a bit low on HP. One of them will go down, and then, of course, that bunker over at the third. Like, what a thing to do. You double proxy Rax a guy, and then you bunker his third location. How annoying is that?
Extremely, extremely. I mean, you're on 3 orbitals. JimRising just doesn't have what it takes right now to push out and secure a third base. He's stuck on 2 hatcheries. Gonna go with the lair on basically the main base here, and Roachwarren is down as well. So maybe JimRising will just decide here to go right into 2-base Roach and just all in Spear right now, because he's not even getting speed at all when it comes to the spawning pool.
You mentioned third bases a couple of times, and JimRising tried to take a third base, but because of those Marines inside of the bunker, and oh, is this extra drone going to deny? Oh my word, he saves it by building a hatchery in a dreadful position, but he saves the drone. He doesn't have to remake that, and as you mentioned, the Roachwarren and the lair, I mean, yeah, he does have that Roachwarren on the way. Of course, it's very much delayed in comparison to where he would have liked it to be. But fortunately for him, everything from Spear is super delayed as well.
Yep, but Spear is mining more. He is on just a little bit more workers than JimRising is, but again, the mules always do help out. But for now, yes, for the time being, it is still pretty even. That may change, though, with JimRising's planned Roach timing attack here.
The extra 400 minerals or so a minute that Spear is benefiting from those mules is going to be adding up. One thing that can go terribly, terribly wrong is if these Hellions end up getting caught out. I mean, we've got 7 more Roaches on the production tab. There's quite a few already out on the field, 13. So it's going to be about 20 Roaches in total. They're kind of streaming their way across the map piecemeal, so we'll have to see if JimRising decides to wait for all of his units to get there before taking the big engagement.
Well, Spear now knows that this is coming here. Roaches are attacking the rocks in the back, spotted by the supply depot. Bunker's going to go down. Spear's going to pull everything to the backside over here to try to defend this, but these Roaches are in a good spot. They're dealing with Marines and Hellions, only 1 Marauder. Not a bad fight here for JimRising, so long as he can micro well. We'll see if the high ground advantage does help out Spear. The bunkers are about to finish up, though.
He really needs those bunkers finished. Body blocking SCVs are pulled off the line, and they're heading down to the bottom of the ramp, just trying to buy as much time as possible for these bunkers to get up. Marine Marauder at the top of the map, but again, like you said, not many Marauders. It's mostly just Marines. However, they do have enough to push this back, and the third base is landed, so if Spear holds this attack, he'll be sitting pretty.
Yep. Now JimRising is going to go around the front side there with that bunker blocking the back. We're going to see a scan from Spear to confirm that that is indeed the case. Bunker, oh, so close to going down. Does finally go down. The repair not happening quick enough. SCVs trying to go after this Roaches, not through that choke, though, and they're going to try to go back to mine. But right now, the Natural is in a lot of trouble here for Spear as these Roaches are cleaning everything up. We're going to see a counter drop here by Spear onto third base, which is really just used for macro purposes. JimRising hasn't made a single drone for a while now, just staying on 41. But he does need to defend this third hatch, though. Even if it isn't being used for mining, it is important.
It is important, but this attack has kind of been halted by the tank on the high ground. And tanks constantly being pumped out is something that Spear needs, because with these Roaches continuing to go ham in his Natural, he needs to stop this aggression from JimRising. He needs to stabilize immediately.
We are going to see that hatch being taken out. That is a good counter damage done by Spear. You would think that JimRising could just rally some more reinforcements over there, but I think what happened was they were just coming like maybe 2 at a time or something. So that wasn't going to, not really ever banking enough of them. Here, though,
really
he's
nice.
got enough Roaches to take out these bunkers with ease. No repair attempted, just too far for SCVs to get to. And now JimRising is going to go after the production of the Terran. If he can take out some add-on buildings here, this can be really what is the nail in the coffin for Spear, as Spear is trying to get his Marine and Marauder into position to defend this. He can. Question is, how much is he going to lose? The racks, oh, lifted in time. Not going to see that barracks go down. Roach is going to go after this bio. Really, JimRising should leave here. With the Medivacs healing up, these Roaches didn't stand a chance.
He did overstay his welcome. Overall, he has killed a fair number. Ooh, actually, the bad rally from JimRising going to be costing a couple of Overlords their lives. I don't know if it'll be quite enough to supply block him. He'll just barely not be. But 26 SCVs have been killed throughout the course of this game. The nice thing is the triple mule that is available to Spear. So that's, of course, going to be his kind of his calling card, the one thing that he's got going for him.
I don't think the damage Jim did was enough. I don't think so. The mules, like you mentioned, also now that Spear has Medivacs out, he's going to be able to basically start dropping. And with the lack of creep sped by JimRising, a lot of ground to cover, I don't think these Roaches are going to have the mobility to handle it, not to mention the upgrades. 0-1 for JimRising, 1-1 for Spear, and Spear is now going to just, well, stim on through this.
Nice stutter step as he cleans out the majority of these Roaches. Hydra's getting some nice DPS. GG! And Spear takes the lead 2-1 in this best of 5. And as we mentioned, that puts him on the match point. As all of you guys know, that is so important as far as these players go. Because when you're evenly matched like this, and you're able to take back a weird proxy game where the proxy wasn't what won him, I guess it did win him the game in the long run, but not directly.
Well, we're going to move into game 4 very soon. I hope you guys are enjoying this Fight Night 18 this week. Please follow us here on hitbox.tv if you haven't already. If you guys are watching this from Team Liquid, please come to hitbox.tv/Team Gravity. There is a lot of stuff going on in the chat right now that you don't want to miss out on. We still have that poll going. JimRising still firmly in the lead with that 87.5%, but with Spear now taking the lead again, is he going to start getting some fans in here? I don't know, man. There's a lot of crickets chirping when it comes to Spear's corner.
He unfortunately doesn't have quite the same pull that JimRising does. JimRising is one of those guys who, again, he's been not the best in the world, not by a long stretch, but he's a guy that's been posting results in, you know, kind of some of the smaller scenes for many, many years now. And he's one of those top contenders in the Latin America scene. Like you mentioned, perhaps the best Zerg in the Latin America scene. I think the best player overall would have to go to Major just because he is an outstanding player. But we're seeing here, I mean, Spear, he's got some power in him, and certainly Dust Gaming will be proud.
All right, game 4 going to be on Infernal Pools. Back to another 4-player map. Now, the last time we were on a 4-player map, JimRising did take that, so maybe is he
Mm-hmm.
going to be back on some comfortable ground here? Let's find out.
It's very weird to call Inferno Pools comfortable ground. We've all seen those very wonky games. Yeah, actually,
I hear you on that.
I think it was 2 weeks ago on Fight Night where someone like 5 racks reapered on this map. Crazy, just silly stuff.
All right, well, we are now here. Starting on the upper left-hand side of Inferno Pools is the guy who just retook the lead in Game 3. Gonna look to push it further here. Playing for Dust Gaming, guys, the Red Terran Spear.
And on the exact opposite side of the map, the southeast corner, we have representing Brawl Esports, our Blue Zerg down 1-2. He needs your cheers. This is JimRising. And I guess with this map being a cross-spawn position as we have landed here, this is probably our best opportunity to see a longer macro game. We saw certainly a macro game in game number 2 on Iron Fortress, but this map is absolutely huge. It's got all sorts of weird features, but with this long distance that these guys have to travel, we could be seeing, 20-plus minute game.
Could be also seeing CC first. Right now, Spear is onto the 13th supply unit here. No sign of a barracks. We're probably going to be seeing a command center out of that guy. JimRising, same for him. Going to be just hatch first. So both players, again, just following expected metagame when it comes to a large 4-player map.
Yep, 15 hatch, 14 CC. About as macro-oriented as you can get from these guys. Maybe JimRising takes an even bigger risk, goes something like 3 CC, goes for that even more extreme greed. Going to be immediately into the gas for Spear, so he's not going CC first into like triple racks or anything like that to try to make up for it and pump out a lot of units. Similarly, though, I believe it was 15 pool after that for JimRising.
Interesting that Spear is going for the gas for the racks here. I would have to say that he's probably not going to go for an early 3rd CC here because he is trying to get up some gas to hopefully have enough for a factory immediately after that barracks and maybe a starport following. Still have yet to see Spear go for, that really early 3rd CC at 520 or so. So, well, we might see him just, get that little extra step there with the CC first, but then try to move into an aggressive follow-up. JimRising right now, just working on the usual build. He hasn't really changed it up that much, with the exception of last game, given that he did scout the proxy.
Getting himself 2 Lings to assist his scouting overlords. Would be surprised if he went for any more than, like, say, 4 or 6 Lings. We'll keep an eye on that in the production tab. Of course, Orbital's going to be coming down, and there's going to be immediately into the factory for Spear. Potentially that kind of 2-base 1-1-1. Maybe he'll try to poke out and do some damage, as we saw in Iron Fortress.
Yeah, and he's doing his first scouting of the day. He does see the pathing of the Overlord. He was paying attention over there on the upper right. So if that was the case, then, well, the SCV should know that its next stop will have to be the lower right. JimRising working on speed again. Going to just continue that standard normal opening he does almost every game.
Yep, powering plenty of drones to try to keep himself ahead in that respect. I'm curious as to what his layer timing is going to be. Is he going to try to go for a 2-base play before he gets for his 3rd hatch? I imagine once he goes in for the scout, he'll be looking to take a quicker 3rd base.
SCV just going to go in, not really see too much. I mean, yes, there is a natural. You would expect that at 538. But, Spear knows where his opponent is now. I guess he can have that going for him. He probably won't drop a scan. He's going to look to be aggressive anyways here. He's got the starport on the way with a tech lab on the barracks. So we're going to see Banshees come into play here. So Spear, he's going to be the one being the aggressor. He's just going to go right ahead and attack JimRising. Doesn't need to do much scouting before that.
There's the swap over like you were talking about, and the 3rd base going to be coming in for JimRising. Now this 3rd base can be be a bit target for our Terran player. He does have a couple of Hellions going to be moving out for that map presence, map awareness. Just cleaning up a couple of lings here and there. Roach Warren is now going to be on the way. And of course, JimRising, he wants to do something about these Hellions.
Yeah, he does. And these Hellions scouting the third base timing, I think Spear will think to himself, okay, there probably isn't going to be two base muta again this time around. I mean, we look at JimRising right now, and indeed he isn't doing that. He's only getting his lair at this time. He's going to go for Roach Bane as his opening here. And, well, he's going to have to get something out soon because the Hellion count is starting to build, and when that Banshee arrives, we're going to have to see JimRising start to defend on both sides.
He's going to have a lot of units to worry about, and of course, playing up against Cloaked Banshees is possibly one of the most frustrating things to go up against in kind of the early to mid-game. Over on Spear's half of the map, we do have those Lings potentially doing a bit of damage. Yeah, they're getting into the SCV line, pulling everything completely off. They haven't gotten critical damage just yet, but now that the SCVs are way, way out of position, this is just getting worse and worse for Spear. 4 SCVs do go down, but this is a huge amount of lost mining time.
Yeah, that is a very good counter by JimRising. He's telling him, he's talking to himself like, okay, well, you do have all these Hellions out here, so they're not home. And then he goes and sneaks a bunch of Lings in there, getting in some good damage. Banshee is now here, though, against JimRising. You see these Hellions turn into Hellbats on top of that. Well, these Lings are not going to be enough. The Roaches, we'll have to see.
The Roach is starting to clean up the Banshees, but of course, Roach is notoriously bad at shooting up. The nice thing is for JimRising is that the Banshee was actually shooting at Lings, delaying the amount of time that it could actually be doing anything more useful than that. With the Overseer right there, the Banshee will have to live to fight another day. He's going to go try to poke away at those Roaches.
Well, Spear going to go ahead and take that third base right now, and I have to say, JimRising is in a pretty good spot. He's on more workers, he's had his third for a lot longer, and really didn't suffer any economic damage until now. Hellions rolling into that third base, and that is going to see every single drone here taken out, additional, including 2 that just arrived. And, well, JimRising is just going to have to try to counter here, but with these SCVs repairing, with 3 Banshees on top, oh, man, everything just turned around within a short amount of time. And I was just saying the guy had a good shot there, but, man, sometimes, so this game, man, this game, 30 seconds can change everything.
Yep, he thought he had a timing there, and with all of his drones at the third getting roasted away, he was falling rapidly in that worker count, and then on top of that, he was like, oh, my Roaches can't really do anything. My Spire is still quite a ways from finishing. He didn't have a lot of options on the table, and unfortunately, JimRising will fall to Spear with that 3-1 score.
I think that that Roach push at the end there was just, that was unfortunate. It was not well timed at all.
He was hoping, he was hoping there was going to be like that weakness, kind of that hope against hope of like, hey, maybe there's another hole in the wall that I can just run my units through for free.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely overextended big time in that situation. If those Roaches were at home, this game would still be happening and JimRising would be ahead. That was a killer decision on his part. And now it's going to put him in match point here for game number 5. So let's see if he can mount that ever-patented Fight Night comeback. Oh, is it already over? Oh, it's best of 5. That's right. That was match point.
For Spear, Unfortunately for JimRising.
That is unfortunate.
That is over.
Yeah, not this match.
They were tied 1-1, and then Spear with those last 2 games. I mean, you gotta respect a guy who proxy, or maybe you have to hate a guy who proxies you with 2 racks after you go up 1-1. But in this case, Spear, very well played to him. He will take home $10, and of course, that $10 has to come from somewhere. It comes from Hitbox TV. They are nice enough to put money in the pockets of StarCraft 2 players. Droopy, as you mentioned, 18 different fight nights have taken place just in 2015 alone. If you do some really difficult math, that's like $1,800 that are now in the pockets of StarCraft 2 players. Once a week, $100 does indeed get put into the pockets of StarCraft 2 players.
Indeed. So come over here to hitbox.tv/Team Gravity. If you're watching this on Team Liquid, sign up for an account. It's free, it's fast, no need to confirm your email address, and you'll be able to, well, hang out and chat and see that Spear, despite being the underdog in this poll, has pulled out the victory. So congrats to him. So we're going to go into the next match very soon. Fenner versus Pilly. Yes, that is going to be the next match.
Yep.
But before we do, we're going to go into a short break, and don't go anywhere.